ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Wednesday, August 20th. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Thanks for being a part of today's show. Our text line this hour brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. I think we've got a great show today. I'm looking forward to this one. We are going to welcome to the program in the next few minutes Marshall's new Director of Athletics, Gerald Harrison. He's joining us here, so we're going to talk to him. We got about 15 minutes or so with him. He's had a busy schedule so far. He's hit the ground running, so we're going to try to get a lot of questions in as much as we possibly can. And yesterday, we asked you to give us some questions, and so I've parsed some of those out. I'll try to get as many as I can in. No promises that I can get them all in, but I will hold some back if I can't get them all in because I anticipate we're going to speak with him more than once. So that's something that I'm really excited about, just the opportunity to talk to him today, kind of get a feel for where he's at right now. This is day number 3 for him officially on the job, and of course, he's been in Huntington since Friday already. He's been in a couple of things. Made a hire. Naisha Campbell was his first hire, at least officially, as Marshall's new Deputy Athletics Director. She's also going to serve as Chief Operating Officer and Senior Women Administrator. So that's his first hire. More to come, I'm sure, as he gets his organization in place, how he wants to run the athletic department. So I think it's going to be a fun interview. Looking forward to it. And, of course, we'll get your questions in as well. You can hit me up on the text line. One more time, that number is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We've got soccer action coming up. The women taking on Glenville State. That's happening over at the Vet. And then, of course, Friday is going to be fun because the number 2 men in the country taking on George Mason. So soccer starting to really ramp up. And if I'm wrong here, let me know. But I think with Marshall playing against Glenville State, that's going to be the official first home Marshall event for the new AD. So there you go, kicking things off with women's soccer as the Thundering Herd got the win over Moorhead last week, and I'm always happy when the Herd can beat Moorhead State. I'm glad they play the series in as many sports as possible. I'd love to see a continuation in basketball. Football's that's a different story altogether. You can't do that. But that was fun. That was always a fun series when Marshall played Moorhead State, one of Marshall's older rivals. So we had a lot to get into here in the next few minutes. I think one thing that I'm going to ask, and a few of you have kind of hit on this as well, is as far as facilities, operations, what are some of the priorities there? Scheduling, that's been something that a few of you have hit me up on as well. I got some interesting questions. One that I don't think I can ask, but I'll mention it. Someone asked me if I could ask him about scheduling with a P4 school if they didn't want to do a home and home, but offer them a stipulation if Marshall would beat them, then they would have to return to Huntington based on the loss. I thought, okay, that's really interesting, but I don't think any power school is ever going to go for that. Like, hey, okay, we'll give you a game. We'll come to your place, but if we beat you, you got to come back to Huntington. I don't think anyone's taken that deal. Usually, it's a one-off. You get an opening in the schedule. You get a nice payday. Hopefully, you come out of it pretty much not beat up. And if you're lucky, sometimes you get the win like a Notre Dame. So there are so many ways you can probably do scheduling. I don't think that's going to be one. But I did like the question. I don't think I can ask that one. So I'll try to work that in a different way. Of course, facilities were a lot of the questions that I got from people. Hey, what are you going to do for the facilities as far as the party deck, the end zone? That gets a lot. We get a lot of comments on that. Hey, when's that going to happen? Because the early impression was that would come first, and that the Shoey, I think the Shoey was probably the easier item to do. It's the one that you can knock off quickly. It was easier to bring to fruition. So that's why we're seeing the shoey. And according to I think yesterday, there were still some opportunities available. So if you're still on the fence on that, you have time. You could get your pass, and you can get your premium experience at Marshall University for football season. So if you're still on the fence, get it now, because I've got a feeling those are going to sell out. We're just getting that much closer to the start of the season. Again, football coming back. We have got a week from Saturday, the Herd in action, taking on Georgia on the road. And so I want to welcome everyone that's joining us for the first time since the conclusion of football season and, of course, the conclusion of basketball season. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. That's going to be our number to be a part of today's show. And as I said, get your questions in. We'll try to make room for as many questions as we possibly can. And if we can't get them in today, we'll definitely get them in a future interview opportunity. And, of course, I'll always try to maybe work one in here or there. But I think the end zone's probably, let's look at some of the questions now as we get ready for this interview. I think the end zone is probably the question that has been asked to me off air the most. Yeah, hey, when are we going to see that end zone get improved? When are we going to see more development with that end zone? What are we going to do here? So that's probably where we'll start down the line here. Scheduling, that's probably going to be something, just give you kind of an idea of what I'm going to be looking for here. And, of course, we've got an idea of, what kind of energy he's already bringing. A couple of you have told me they've gotten the email that went out to certain members of the Marshall community, Big Green supporters, and a couple of you said, hey, I'll run through a wall for this guy already. So that's a lot of high praise coming from a few fans. So we're going to go ahead and get our break in early because he's going to be calling us here in the next couple of minutes. So I want to make sure that we maximize our time. So we'll get our first break in, come back, and hopefully on the other side of the break, we're going to be talking Marshall football with the new athletic director of Marshall University. He is Gerald Harrison. We'll do that when we continue on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
The soundtrack to your summer is back. Mount West 9th Street Live. Downtown Huntington's favorite Friday night tradition. Presented by Michelob Ultra and White Claw. This Friday, it's the Tri-State STEM plus M night with live music from the Jason Mays Band on the Marshall OBGYN stage. Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Bring your friends, bring the family, and soak it up before summer's officially gone. Join us Friday night, August 29th, the final 9th Street Live of the season with heavy hitters. 9th Street Live, driven by University Ford and built by Cardinal Roofing. Every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington, between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Brought to you by Delta Hotels, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, the Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kindred Communications. This Friday, the Jason Mays Band is live at Mount West 9th Street Live. Be there.
It's the Hot Deals Cool Ride sales event at your hometown Chevrolet in Waverly. Right now, save big on a fresh lineup of Chevys. From fuel-saving sedans to dependable trucks and family-ready SUVs, as well as an exceptional selection of pre-owned vehicles. Looking to trade in? We're paying more than ever for quality vehicles. Need financing? We've got options that work for you. Don't miss it. Hot Deals Cool Rides happening now at your hometown Chevrolet. Off Route 23 in Waverly or at yourhometowንchevy.com.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
Buddy's All-American Barbecue is now in Milton. Enjoy all your favorite Buddy's classics like pulled pork, brisket, ribs, and more on East Main Street in Milton. Buddy's All-American Barbecue, the home of great barbecue, ice-cold beer, and killer wings in Huntington and now in Milton.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with today's edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Our text line brought to you by Clark's Pump and Shop, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. It's a pleasure to welcome now the brand new Director of Athletics at Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. Gerald, thanks for joining us today. I know you've had a busy schedule so far. You've hit the ground running since you got back to Huntington on Friday.
They've had me hopping around a pretty good bit, but I wouldn't trade one thing for it. It's been awesome.
Has it sort of been like the athletic director version of the week of welcome? Here's where this is, here's where that is, and you've just been shown around like a whirlwind.
It has been kind of like that. I told them I felt like a freshman, like when I was a freshman back at the University of Tennessee in '97. You don't know where anything is, but there's a lot of places people expect for you to be. And so they've been doing a great job getting me where I need to be, and we've been trying to answer as many questions as we can and educate folks about me, and I want to learn about them. And it's been a whirlwind, but like I said, it's been energizing, really. I love it here, and I love the interaction with our student athletes so far.
I was going to ask you what your first impressions have been of the university, the staff, and the community. You know, you've been nonstop. I know you were at our event on Friday with the Herd Rally, and then ever since then, you officially got started on Monday. So what are those interactions? Anything stand out to you, early impressions?
You know what? It's been great. Everybody's here very passionate. Everybody wants the best for Marshall in Huntington, and I love a place where there's no town and gown. Like, it's all one and the same. People talk about Huntington and Marshall in the same sentence and barely a comma. It's more of a hyphen. It's Minneapolis, St. Paul, Marshall, Huntington. Like, it's all the same thing. And I love that part of it. I love the fact that people want to do right by our student athletes. They want to be successful. They want to win. And those, you don't find that everywhere. The alignment between President Smith, the Board of Governors, our athletic administration, the Big Green, all that stuff has been great so far. And I'm just trying to make sure that I can add to that and plug in and learn and try to figure out what we need to take the next step as the athletics department, which will continue to help the university grow.
Now, I know it's still a learning process. You're early on the job, but is there anything you've seen as a pressing area of focus, maybe facilities, operations, or maybe the broader athletic department? You know, is there something there that you've identified early that you want to target?
Well, I think the first thing we have to do is take advantage and be great stewards of the resources that we have. I think the university has supported us well and given us an opportunity to be competitive in the Sun Belt. So I'm just looking for ways to enhance that. One being the deck, the new deck there in the stadium. I think that's going to be a great avenue for us, and tickets are selling well for that. That will give us a chance to get into revenue sharing. A part of this college athletics in this age is NIL and revenue sharing. So I'm looking for opportunities to generate more revenue, and not necessarily on the backs of raising ticket prices and things like that, but in other ways by creating premium areas, looking at better corporate partnerships, looking at long-term naming right opportunities, things like that, that will help us grow our war chest so we can go to battle and compete with the people like James Madison and Coastal and folks like that in our conference that we got to defeat to win the Sun Belt again. On the football side, but that's across the board. I got to help Coach Corning get across the line and get us back to the NCAA tournament. Baseball, we got a new stadium. We got to fill it, and we got to get people in there and get our student athletes there and get the best players here that we can get. So we're really identifying revenue streams and opportunities to continue growth. and there's been a good foundation here. That's the best thing about it. I mean, it's not a situation where you come in and you have to do a resurrection job. This is something that has already been starting, and it started in our community and throughout our university and our department. So I feel like we're there. But I think the other thing that we can touch on is our student athlete experience. The one thing that we can do, and it takes very little additional money, is making sure that our student athletes have the best possible experience that they can have. And so that we got to make sure where they eat, they train, they sleep, their mental health, behavioral health, all those stuff, we're feeding into them and preparing them for life after Marshall. And I think we have some opportunities there. That was a big thing that I believed in at Austin Peay. Was that the same way at Duke? And I think we have some ways that we could do that here and really be the best in the G6 at that. And I'm really excited about that opportunity.
Our guest is Vice President and Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. On the job, this is like day number 3. And your first day, you make it hire Naisha Campbell. You bring her on. She worked with you previously at Austin Peay. She's going to be the new Deputy Athletic Director, also Chief Operating Officer, Senior Women's Administrator. There's a lot of titles there, but just to boil it down, what does she bring to Marshall, and how does she help you achieve what you're trying to do?
Well, yeah, and Naisha's great. We've been a team. I had the opportunity to hire her at Duke University. We worked together at Austin Peay when she was in the same capacity that she's going to be here. She is an awesome number 2 type person because she understands me. She speaks Gerald, and I think that will help our staff understand the expectations and how fast we want to go, our pace, our passion. She understands the student-athlete experience. So when you look at what she brings, she started at Duke in compliance. Before she went from compliance to human resources. When I moved into that realm, we went from that to she was one of the top fundraisers at Duke University in the athletics department with Diron Dukes. Fast forward to Austin Peay, and she took on student athlete development and what we called our Lead Her initiative for women's athletics. And she took that stuff and she made our external department one of the best in the country. Our external department at Austin Peay with a very small budget and a very little resources, won national awards for what she did and the way she led her people. So what she will do is now you put her in a place with more resources, more opportunities, and a great staff and a great team. She has the opportunity to propel us into another level. And that frees me up to come up with, strategic initiatives. That allows me to work on things that are going to move us long term. That allows me to get out and fundraise. That allows me to do a lot of different things, interact with our coaches and our student athletes while she's on the ground building our department from an infrastructure standpoint. So I'm really excited about that. And you take her and mix her with some of the people that are already here and their experiences and what they have done. I think we have a chance to have a small but mighty cabinet that will do great things for Marshall University.
Now, she's fluent in Gerald, so is there like a handbook? Because I'd like to get fluent in Gerald as well, just to make sure that, I'm on the same page as you.
It's funny you said that. So during my process, President Smith, when after I accepted the job, had a few pages of things about him to help you understand him. And I thought that was a great thing. And so what I did was some of these thoughts and sayings and stuff that I do and talk about all the time, I created, and I have a football background, so I created the Harrison playbook. And I distributed it to our cabinet, and I distributed it to our senior staff here, so they will have an understanding, and our head coaches, so they'll understand the things I like, don't like, some of my popular sayings and things that I really believe that move us towards success. And so there is a playbook. So if you want it, I can share it with you.
I do want it.
I'll be glad to share it with you, but it is not. It's not going to be on the New York Times bestseller list or something. But it helps. It helps when you're trying to build a culture and grow a department.
I'll sign an NDA, whatever you want. I want a copy of that playbook. Excellent. Gerald
Okay,
Harrison.
we can do that.
All right, Gerald Harrison's with us. He is the new director of athletics, Marshall University. So we've been soliciting some fan reaction, kind of get a feel for what is interesting to them. And I'm going to try to go through as much as I can, but not overwhelm you at the same time, since our time
Oh, no,
is.
that's fine.
Okay, well, I'll hit you
Go
with
for it.
the most pressing stuff, and then you tell me when to
Okay.
stop, since I know you're busy this today.
All right.
A lot of people are curious as far as when it comes to non-conference scheduling, both football and basketball. What are you looking to do? How do you balance competitiveness, exposure, and what's best for Marshall when you try to put together your non-conference portion of the schedule?
That's a great question. Honestly, from my standpoint, in football, what you want to look like, you want to give yourself a chance to be. We're in a situation where we're going to have to, and at this level, so we're going to have to play a money game, a guarantee game. And now that's not that Marshall has a history of being very competitive in those, defeating Notre Dame a few years ago. We're going to play one of those in our non-conference. That's going to happen. All right. Outside of that, what I would like to do is bring another P4 team, maybe sign a home and home with them, or maybe a 2-for-1 even, something you have to negotiate to get a P4 team to come into the zone. And then we can go out and do a thing where there's really not much money exchanging. We're just going to play a regional, Power 4 team, like I know Virginia Tech was here a few years ago. Like, that's something that we would like to do. From a coaching standpoint, you got to get dubs, because in the end of the day, you got to be competitive. You want to win championships, but you've got to start. The first goal is to get to 6, right? And so you got to schedule. We'll schedule a FCS program maybe, or a competitive, or a G6 program that we think we can compete with and probably should win the game. And then lastly, we want to play a regional institution that may have a rivalry to us, so there may be a history. I know there's prior to me they signed a long-term deal to play Ohio. That's a great one. I would have done something like that. So that's kind of the formula in football. In basketball scheduling is really tricky, and I'm gonna tell you why it's a little different. Basketball is one of the few that they let the coaches do it, and the administrators aren't really involved in it that much, other than an expectation. Where football ADs and other ADs get together and they put together a football schedule. Like, it's we schedule it, we plan it based on the parameters that we want. Basketball, the tradition has been that they get together and they put together a schedule, and they look at the strength of schedules, what they got returning, who they're going to play, that kind of thing. And so really the AD part of it is making sure that we play enough home games to make our season tickets valuable. And we don't want to sell out our team and play too many guarantee games. So that's kind of how you look at it. You want to play games of interest. We want to get people into the CAM and games they're interested in seeing. The challenge with basketball is more than anything else, and I really hate it, it's a pet peeve of mine, is people aren't honest. And so you'll get two coaches on the phone, and they'll say, hey, will you play me? To they say, yeah, I'll play you. We say, great. And so we write it down as a game that we're going to have. And then they'll find somebody they think they can defeat or a better deal, and they'll drop you. And they won't sign the contract, and they'll trade you out for somebody else. And now you're sitting there with a month into the season, and you got 5 slots to fill because you got dropped, because they found out you got a transfer they didn't think you were going to have, or that you may beat them and they won't play you. That was a huge problem for us at Austin Peay. And I'm sure Marshall has a similar story. We got dropped before I left 3 times in 1 week by different games, and we're in danger of not having enough home games. That's just not fair. And it's one of those things I wish the ADs were more involved in from the beginning, because coaches have a different mindset when it comes to doing scheduling.
Our guest is Vice President, Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. A follow-up to that, I get a couple of these now and then. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on West Virginia? I'm sure that has come up as far as a game for football. Do you have an early thought on what that might look like, if you want to make that happen, and how would you go about that?
I would be interested in talking to Ren about that. I don't know. I'm sure there's always backstories and histories and things. To play at in-state school, I think that's important if you can do it, and if they're willing to do it. Now, there's a history of those games not happening, not just in West Virginia, but across the country, where the schools that's perceived to be smaller or perceived, and I say perceived to be little brother, sometimes the bigger school or the Power Four school in the state don't want to play you because they're scared of what you might bring to the table, and they definitely don't want to come to your place. And so I don't really have much interest in playing West Virginia in Morgantown all the time. If we're gonna do it, there's got to be some. And that doesn't have to be. It's not. It's crazy and it's unrealistic to think that it's gonna be home and home every time. But there's got to be, to schedule something like that. There's got to be some trips to the Joan involved, and our fans deserve that. And that's how rivalries happen. So would I be against it? No. But would I sell us out and say we're going to go over there every time we play? I'm not doing that either. It's not worth it for me.
And then, as aside to that, as far as scheduling, not necessarily West Virginia, but there are a lot of alumni in different parts of the country. Did you factor any of that in? I was asked about Florida, for example. A lot of Herd fans in Florida, in that area. Do you look at items like that when you're trying to figure out what a schedule might look like? Any sport, football, basketball primarily, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important. One thing I've always taken into account is where our people are going to be located. And one of the questions that I actually have out to our folks in the Big Green now is find out where are our alumni, what are our bases, and where do we have folks? And yeah, take it there, because those kind of games are experience trips as well. And so if you can go somewhere, we get a big sea of green in Florida, let's say, like you said, then it's worth doing that. It's worth looking at that. If we're going to have to get on a plane to go somewhere, why don't we go somewhere where we have a large alumni base, where people can get excited about cheering for our teams? I think that's important. And so I would like to do that. And that's going to be a factor. And as we go, I met with Dave Brown, who's kind of the czar of scheduling already. And we're starting to work on our schedules going forward. And so that is definitely a factor in it.
Our guest, new Vice President, Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. If you got time for a few more, I've got some really interesting ones as far as facilities. Those come up all the time, different types of topics. And the one that I get a lot, and I've got a lot of those last couple of days as well, is just, what's your plan when it comes to things like, and it goes from anything from signage, lighting, general appearance, cosmetic updates, beautification, infrastructure, and I'm thinking they're thinking more about football and then basketball, but what's your general philosophy when it comes to trying to tackle facilities, which is a constant for an athletic director?
Absolutely. So generally my first thought is, what are we doing with our student-athlete experience? So I want to make sure we got good locker rooms, good bones for our student-athletes. Well, while our fans are incredible and they're important, we got to make sure that we have good facilities for our student-athletes so they want to come here. We can recruit other great student-athletes to bring more trophies to Marshall University. So that's one. Two, I'm a huge aesthetic person. And I'm about branding, the way things look. So, yes, there are numerous things inside of our facilities right now that I've been talking to our staff about. I've done three, in counting my press conference day, I've done 3 tours of every athletic facility that we have and written down things that we need to adjust, or we need to work at, or we need to target. There are things, easy, low-hanging fruit things in the stadium that we have to do. But we have to be realistic about where we are from a resource standpoint and how fast we can go. But yeah, I noticed somebody sent me a thing on Twitter. It's like, the green in the end zone needs to be changed. I got you. I'm with you. I see that. I know. Or the lettering on the press box doesn't have, Sky Suites don't match the lettering, our brand lettering. I know that. We got to get that fixed. We also got to cut some bushes back and make sure our landscape thing's done. Proud to say that we got a new landscape group working with us. Andrew Brown's done a great job. And so they'll notice that when they come here on September 6th, how beautiful our landscaping will be around the Joan and things like that. But there are numerous things like that we have to be better at, and we're going to be. and we're going to address, whether it's signage, fading. Green is the color that fades. And branding and signage are expensive. So we got to knock that down, and we got to fix those things. Well, I'm looking forward to September 6th to have opportunity to actually go through a game day to see it working. I want to see how it is to enter our stadium. I want to see what our concession stands are like. I want to see the challenges because I don't know. You can't look at an empty stadium and figure that out. So I got to see it work. But that stuff will take precedent. We will attack that really quickly. But you always know where you are. Our facility is going to be clean. Our people, and it's going to be what I call recruit ready at all times. And that goes from the Jones, Cam, Jack, learning all the names, all the other facilities, the vet, and any of these other facilities.
You don't have to answer, but I'm going to ask, was there a specific item that you saw, okay, no, that's got to change right away? Can you share that we got to fix that list?
I probably, well, no, yeah, I'll say it. I mean, I think there's some things we have to address in our indoor. It's not necessarily in the stadium or fan facing, but it's time for a new, and I'm going to work with donors and people like that. It's time for a new turf in our indoor facility, and so I think that'll be something that will benefit not just our football program, but the majority of our sports, probably with the exception of golf. Every one of our sports deal in that indoor, and I think that's something that we're going to have to address pretty quickly.
And staying with facilities, just briefly, a lot of people have asked about the end zone area. Of course, you've got the Shoey, and that project's coming along quite nicely. But then you got the other side of the stadium, and there's a lot of potential there. As you get settled in and you look at what's previously been proposed and what could possibly be, do you have a vision for what that end zone could be down the line?
Yeah, I do. I have a vision for it. I think I can't say but so much about it right now because I haven't had a chance to meet with President Smith to talk about it. So I don't want to break news on the statewide radio before I actually talk to my boss about it. But no, there is a lot of potential, as much potential as anywhere on this campus for what can be done in that opposite end zone of the Shoey. And there's ways to do it where it can be fan friendly, kid friendly, revenue generation. There's a lot of activations we can do there. There's a lot there. And that is one thing. If you through a dartboard, you hit something that's really close to the center on my list. So yes.
My guest is the new Vice President and Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. We have taken up a lot of his time, so I'm gonna hit you with one last one. It's sort of self-serving, but I didn't even come up with the question. I've had a couple of people curious, and I know you have a communications background, so you probably would say yes to this, but how do you feel about programs like this, speaking directly to the fans and being on radio and television a lot more, kind of being direct with the fans? What's your feeling like that? It might be self-serving because we'd like to have you back as much as we possibly could.
And I'll be glad to do it. I believe that's the best way to get our message out is to deliver it ourselves. I've always believed that. I don't nothing against people in journalism and I don't want anybody else to tell the Marshall Athletics story. So if somebody's going to give me a platform or our coaches, our staff, we're going to be prepared to talk about what we're trying to get accomplished. We're going to be prepared to answer questions, even whether sometimes you're not going to like what we got to say, and sometimes I'm not going to like the questions that get asked. But I am going to be available to our media, I'm going to do a podcast coming up here soon. My thing is to spread the gospel of Marshall Athletics and how we're going to be successful on this relentless pursuit of excellence that we're on. So anytime you want to have me, you know how to get me.
Excellent. Our guest, the new Vice President, Director of Athletics, Marshall University. So you got women's soccer, Glenville State. That's going to be your official first home game as the athletic director. I'm sure you're excited about that.
I'm really excited about that. I got one of our top-notch team physicians I'm going to meet with first, and then I'm going down to the vet for my first sporting event, trying to get my home dub. There's nothing more important than winning at home, and that will be a great opportunity to do that today, and I can't wait to do it. One thing I will have to do is go find some shorts to put on from the equipment room, though, because it is still steamy. But I cannot wait to go down there and cheer on the herd.
I think as the athletic director, they should be able to accommodate you. I think you got enough pull. I think you can get those shorts.
Yeah, I sure hope one of these keys work. If they don't give it to me, I'm going to take it. No.
There you go.
Yeah. Geez.
Gerald, thank you so much for the
you.
time. I appreciate it. I'm excited for you to be the athletic director and looking forward to many years of talking and working with you.
I look forward to it. Thank you, guys. Go Herd.
There you have it. The new Vice President, Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison. Energized, I am for certain, and I'm sure that a lot of you are as well. And I appreciate everyone who contributed questions and helped kind of get an idea of what we can expect from Marshall's new athletic director. We will take more of your texts coming up. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Hi, I'm Elise Smith, First Lady of Marshall University and founder of the Women Warrior Summit. As a woman of Appalachia, you know how much strength it takes to shift direction, especially when you're carving a new path forward. Maybe you've been thinking about changing careers, going back to school, or even refocusing your energy on something you once loved. I am so proud to announce that the Women Warrior Summit is back for its third year, where we'll be focusing on the power of pivoting and how to approach life's turning points with clarity, courage, and intention. We'll hear from journalist, author, and entertainer Hoda Kotb, explore Jenny Blake's coveted pivot method, and even talk about how AI can support our next steps, whatever they may be. Join us Friday, October 24th at the Marshall Health Network Arena. Visit womenwarriorsummit.com to learn more. I hope to see you there.
The soundtrack to your summer is back. Mountain West 9th Street Live. Downtown Huntington's favorite Friday night tradition. Presented by Michelob Ultra and White Claw. This Friday, it's the Tri-State STEM plus M night with live music from the Jason Mays Band on the Marshall OBGYN stage. Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Gomart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Bring your friends, bring the family, and soak it up before summer's officially gone. Join us Friday night, August 29th, the final 9th Street Live of the season with heavy hitters. 9th Street Live, driven by University Ford and built by Cardinal Roofing. Every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington, between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Brought to you by Delta Hotels, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, the Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kindred Communications. This Friday, the Jason Mays Band is live at Mount West 9th Street Live. Be there.
Everyone has a fave Wendy's Frosty flavor. And when you're choosing from chocolate or vanilla, it's not that hard. But now, there's all new Frosty Swirls and Frosty Fusions. So try picking your fave from Oreo Brownie Fusion, Pop-Tarts Strawberry Fusion, Strawberry Swirl, Brownie Batter Swirl, Caramel Swirl, and Caramel Crunch Fusion. Not so easy now, huh? For a fresh way to Frosty, gotta be Wendy's. Open till midnight or later.
At participating U.S. Wendy's, hours may vary by location. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group. Pop-Tarts is a trademark of Kellogg North America Co., LLC. Used with permission.
It may be goodbye summer in Huntington, but it's hello deals here at University Ford. Broncos up to $8,000 off or finance at 0%. Escapes up to $6,000 off or just $292 a month. Explorers now up to $5,500 off. Plus 0% financing and up to 125% of KBB for your trade. New ownership, improved process, better deals. Better deals. Visit us at University Ford in Huntington or online at universityfordwd.com. See deal for complete details on all offers.
Hi, this is Dave Wilson, host of Metro News Talk Line, and you're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with this Wednesday edition of The Drive with our text line at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. If you're just joining us, you're going to go back to the podcast page later and catch what you missed, because we spoke with new Vice President and Director of Athletics, Marshall University, Gerald Harrison, and it was really exciting I was hopeful that it would be, and I got everything I thought it would be and more. So I invite you, if you missed it, you're just joining us, go back, catch that, available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. You can also head over to our website at wrvc.com and stream that. Going to the text line, we got a couple of people who are already reacting. Texture says, I would run through a wall for this guy. That's a pretty big statement. I appreciate the text. I would run through a wall for this guy. That's the text. That's exciting. So would you run through a wall for the new athletic director, Gerald Harrison? And if you're pretty good at it and you have some eligibility, maybe Coach Gibson would like to talk to you as well. Texture says, Paul, very positive, looking forward to seeing what he can do at Marshall University. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texture says, Paul, thank you for asking one of my questions. Anytime. I do appreciate it. Hey, that's what makes it fun for me, interacting with you. At the end of the day, I can talk and hear myself all day. I want to hear from you. I want to talk to you. I want to find out what is on your mind. I want to find out if you agree with me, disagree with me. And if you disagree with me, I want to talk to you even more. But at the end of the day, I appreciate everyone checking in and interacting with us, because that makes it more fun for me, and hopefully that makes it more fun for you. So, I get that now and then. Apparently, I don't screen the text that much. Maybe to my detriment some days. I'll read something a little unfiltered. So maybe you can get something past me now and then. I'm not saying try, but I do make sure that we get everybody's stuff in as much as I possibly can. We'll keep that open, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We went a little long, and that was to be expected. It was a great interview with the athletic director, Gerald Harrison. So we're going to hit our final break, come back, and we'll start with your text when we continue on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
The soundtrack to your summer is back. Mount West 9th Street Live, downtown Huntington's favorite Friday night tradition, presented by Michelob Ultra and White Claw. This Friday, it's the Tri-State STEM plus M night with live music from the Jason Mays Band on the Marshall OBGYN stage. Little Caesars Kids Zone is back, and Go-Mart Happy Hour starts at 5. Enjoy food and drinks from the Marshall Hall of Fame Cafe, Sip Downtown Brasserie, and Summit Beer Station. Bring your friends, bring the family, and soak it up before summer's officially gone. Join us Friday night, August 29th, the final 9th Street Live of the season with the heavy hitters. 9th Street Live, driven by University Ford and built by Cardinal Roofing. Every Friday night through Labor Day. 9th Street in Huntington, between 3rd and 4th Avenues. Brought to you by Delta Hotels, Wendy's, Mountain Mindful, the City of Huntington, Marshall University, Blinko Glass Company, the Marshall Health Network Arena, and Kindred Communications. This Friday, the Jason Mays Band is live at Mount West 9th Street Live. Be there.
Save big on everything for your next project when you shop at Menards. Get the long-lasting power you need with Energizer. Menards has the largest in-stock selection of Energizer batteries. They provide solid power for flashlights, remotes, and so much more. Right now, save big on Energizer batteries. Plus, check out our weekly flyer on Menards.com for more great deals happening this week.
Save big money at Menards.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Angel Tax and Bookkeeping, personal and business tax returns, bookkeeping, payroll, and trucking authority. 127 State Street, Proctorville. Call 740-886-6500. Ricer Equipment, your local Kubota dealer in Jackson and Lucasville. Visit ricerequipment.com or find us on Facebook. NWV Medicine, Jackson General Hospital, leading healthcare across Jackson and Mason County.
Now in stock, hard to get Chevrolet Traxxas, over 50 available. More coming, starting under $23,000. The Car Ferry says clear the lot, 2026 is on the way. GMC 2026 Terrains, 40 in stock, up to $1,800 off. Mark Porter Chevy GMC in Ashland, Kentucky and Pomeroy, Ohio has truck. Take up to $14,000 off. 2025 GMC Sierras. Offer includes $3,500 owner loyalty rebate. Must own 2011 or newer Buick or GMC. Come to Route 7 and Route 33, Pomeroy, Ohio, or Greenup Avenue, Ashland, Kentucky. Over 800 GM vehicles available. Car dreams do come true. Sale ends September 2nd, all rebates to dealer.
Summer's winding down. Your lawn's slowing up. And the leaves, they're already starting to drop. Robert's Lawn and Landscaping doesn't miss a beat. From final cuts to full fall cleanups, fresh mulch and winter prep, they've got your yard handled before the seasons change. Reliable, local, ready for what's next. Lock in your fall services now with Roberts Lawn and Landscaping. Visit robertslawn.com. Roberts Lawn and Landscaping, where every season starts strong. Reliable, local, and ready for what's next.
Hey Tri-State, Frank's Place is where friends hang out with friends. Stop on by for happy hour from 4 to 6 p.m. and a lot of daily specials. It's that time of year for March basketball. Frank's has you covered from the Sun Belt to the SEC, NBA to the MLB. First responders, stop by Frank's Place and check out the specials they have for you. Frank's Place, located at the River Place Plaza, next to Fratelli's. Check them out on Facebook for weekly updates and specials. Frank's Place, your home away from home.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
It's our final segment for today's edition of The Drive, but plenty of time for you. Text lines 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Earlier on the program, we spoke with new Director of Athletics, Gerald Harrison, at Marshall University. He had a lot of interesting things to say. What was a big takeaway from that interview for you? And you can text me now. Again, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter wants to know, is Gerald's staff complete? I would say no, because he's just taken the job a few days ago. He did bring in, if you were with us earlier, I asked him about his new hire, Nyesha Campbell. She seems like a great partner for him. He's worked with her for years, and he mentioned that she's a great number two. She's going to be basically on the ground getting it done while Gerald's taking care of some of the other issues that require his attention, fundraising. You know, I feel like he's going to be hands-on, but as he said, that Nyesha speaks Gerald, and I hope I get that playbook. I really want a copy of that playbook to find out more about how he works, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So he was very transparent and forthcoming, and he didn't dodge anything. And one thing that I thought a lot of people were interested in, he had a great answer to, was the West Virginia question. Sure, interested in playing them, not going to take advantage of us. You know, we're not going to have a situation where all the games are in Morgantown. He might be interested in 2-for-1. He's a little bit more realistic in that regard, but at the same time, I didn't feel like that he would ever be taken advantage of in the room, and I felt good about that. Not going to put Marshall in a situation to lose. You know, there has to be something that benefits Marshall in this, and so I felt real good about how he addressed that. And, you know, I liked hearing that he's a facilities guy. Aesthetics, all the little things. I know those are items that, and I hear about them all the time. One thing that over the years, sometimes it rubs people wrong, but we're sort of a sounding board for some of the things that just the ugly little things, the dirty little things, you know. And no one's trying to run Marshall down. So I think I get a little bit of that sometimes because people are like, hey, you know, this isn't right. Or, you know, it's looking pretty bad over at the university. You know, we get that kind of stuff sometimes. And, you know, it's coming from me. So, hey, Paul's the bad guy sometimes. And no, I want to hear, you know, what those are, because it shows that you care. I mean, nobody's complaining about what's happening at Marshall University, you know, when it comes to things like that, because you don't like Marshall. And I thought that he illustrated to me that, hey, these are things that are important. We're going to knock them off one at a time as we can. What's something we can hit, take care of. It's got to be something we can have an action item on. I mean, you can't just hit all the big projects at once, but you got to work your way to it. It's sort of my takeaway from that. Texter says, I appreciate his passion, and the facilities do need freshened up. Appreciate the text. So, you know, that's probably going to be something we'll talk about for a long time. And, you know, I'm curious what that vision is for the end zone, what his vision would be for how to use that part of the stadium. And, of course, you know, I didn't really want to ask him, hey, you're going to keep the tarps on. And I know that those tarps were there, you know, primarily because those seats are going to go away eventually. So you don't want to have that inventory. Those seats are going to go away. And, I don't know if there's anything that's structurally, worrisome about, that area once the new scoreboard went up and you went in there and you had to make a lot of modifications. So I don't know if I would want fans in that area, to be honest with you, until, something a little bit more concrete was in place as far as what that facility that's going to look like. So I'm curious to see what that plan of his will be, and I'm sure that's coming down the road. The big thing is, the big ticket item right now is going to be the shoey. That experience, you're going to have the deck, you're going to have the seats, you're going to have the sideline experience, and I'm sure for a lot of fans, that's a big deal. No longer is it, hey, can I get a couple of sideline passes from a buddy? Okay, we've got a way to regulate that now. You're going to invest in Marshall University, and this is the perk you get at this level. And it's going to be a tangible investment. And if you're looking to entertain, you're looking to watch the game, I'm sure a lot of corporate dollars will go into that area as well, as a way to entertain at the game and take good care of your clients. I'm sure those are going to be opportunities as well. So I'm excited for everything so far happening at Marshall University. First half week, really good so far for Gerald Harrison. That's going to do it for this edition. Don't forget, podcast available, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. Also, check out the website, WRVC.com. Have a great night, everyone.
Broadcasting from the Dave & Buster's studios. Eat, drink, play, and watch at Dave & Buster's in the Huntington Mall. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. WRVC, W231BS Huntington.